All right, there we go. All right, welcome everybody to Cycle Jerks Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Stewart, joined today by my co-host, Chris Padavana. Chris, how
Ah,
are you?
good. Last week I was a ghost, so you probably didn't see me.
Yeah, trying something new. I'm actually going to introduce the co-host.
Thanks.
Yeah, I was so excited last week
Oh
having
yeah.
Rick Sutton on, and man, whatever. And we had a good conversation, but it started a little rocky. I forgot to introduce Chris.
Well,
But
this week we have an even better host, a guest rather.
Whoa. Hey.
Oh,
All right.
Oh,
All right. No pressure, Jose.
yeah.
Uh, so, hey, this week, very excited to have on this guy. Jose and I have been doing business together for, I don't know, 25 years, maybe something, maybe 30 years. It's been a long time. And love this guy like a brother. Jose Gutierrez, owner of Danville Bike, joining us on the podcast. Jose,
All
welcome to
right.
the podcast.
thank you. Welcome to join you guys and have a good conversation. And
Yeah.
it's been a great run. I had known Mike Stewart from a long time when he was in Livermore working for Livermore Cyclery, and we've
Yeah.
been friends as Schwinn dealers, and now here we are today as Giant.
I'm excited to learn more about you, Jose, because I was just
Uh-oh.
thinking about this morning. It's like I kind of worked in that area, early on when I was really young, and I just don't remember. I don't remember you, so I'm interested to learn more about you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, and that's part of what we do. We like to start with kind of like where'd you grow up, Jose? What?
Okay.
Yeah.
So born and raised in Los Angeles
Hmm.
uh, in 1962. Lived in LA till I was 16 years of age. And I decided to move to San Francisco and move in with my sister. But before all that, I was into BMX bikes. And in the 70s, obviously, we had just Stingrays, and we rode Stingrays all over Long Beach, is the area that I pretty much grew up around. And we
Okay.
used to ride our BMX bikes all the way down to the LA riverbed and ride down the LA riverbed to Long Beach, which was a hell of a commute or a hell of a ride on a 20-inch bicycle.
Is that big, kind of concave waterway that you always see like on
Yeah,
TV? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
yeah,
All
Cool.
right.
yeah. So we used to go down that because that would be a straight shot all the way to the beach, which is really nice. And it was safe haven because there was nothing, nobody would mess with you going down that canal. Uh,
Nice.
so I was always really good. And then, just growing up in LA, riding BMX bikes, LA was pretty good. They were most parks had BMX track, and that's where I started racing BMX. I stayed with the bicycle industry, tore apart my bike about every month and rebuilt it, and just stick with it. And so I love bikes, and that's what I like to do.
Yeah. How
Awesome.
how old were you when you started getting into bikes?
I believe I was about 7 years old when I first took apart my Schwinn, and I tried to
Ah,
learn how to true my wheels, and that was a mistake.
yeah. Yeah, I
I
think
I
we're
I
all
I,
laughing because we've all done the same thing.
Oh, totally, dude.
I thought that wheel came out perfect, and when I got on the bike, my bike was going up and down like an egg. I was like, "Oh my God, what did I do?"
Uh-huh. Yeah. It's straight
Yeah.
side to side, but now you got this 2 inch hop in it or
Yep.
whatever,
Yep.
right?
And
Totally right. Yeah.
that's when I became good friends to my local bike shop in Southgate, which was Mike's Bikes at the time,
Oh,
and
okay.
uh, and he kind of steered me in the right direction, loosened the spokes, tightened them back up, blah blah blah, and we got the wheel pretty much back to round, but it wasn't perfect. And, uh, and
It
then
was
that
somewhat salvageable, huh?
oh, it was, and then from there I just ended up hanging out at the bike shop, and then I just stayed with it, and it was kind of cool.
Hmm.
Go
Yeah,
in there and go
it's
in there and polish spokes, and do the grunt work that you ask kids to do now. They look at you and they laugh. They're like, "I ain't polishing spokes. I'm not going to hair up the tires.
yeah.
I just want
Yeah,
to get paid."
it's funny
Right.
when you're a kid, like you're saying, that was quite a ride down to the beach. I remember, like maybe being 13 and
Hmm.
getting on my BMX bike and riding to Dublin to
Yeah.
go to my buddy's house. And then we'd ride from his house and we'd ride up into the hills of Dublin. And we had this thing called Hidden Lake. It was like this, there were like three jumps up there. And we would ride all the way up there. And then I'd be gone all day. And
Yeah.
then I'd come home like at, 6 o'clock at night. And there was no thought of how far it was or how how many miles or anything like that. You know, it was just
Right.
like I was just a kid on my bike, just trying to
Yeah,
go. You know,
yeah. I recall the same thing. Homework was not part of my life back then. All I did was I go to school and then I come home and jump on the BMX bike and then go have fun with my friends. Come home at 8 o'clock. My parents would, as long as I came home, my parents didn't care. But that was part of life back then. You
yeah,
know, nobody got kidnapped, nobody got messed with. It was all good.
Must have
yeah.
been scary to be a parent back then. Jeez, man.
No,
It's
it was
like,
awesome. I mean,
I think I think everybody was ignorant back then. You know, I think that those
right.
things probably still happened.
oh
You
yeah,
know, obviously they did, but
they did. You heard them on the news here and there, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
but
but
not like today where it's on your phone or on your whatever, your news. It's just,
yeah,
I do feel like the
So
news is really sensationalizing a lot of different things. You know, we can't just have rain. It's an atmospheric river. And, it's just all this other, it's like, what? That sounds scary, you know? Everything's very dramatic on the news,
yeah,
it seems like.
yeah. It's not good, but everybody will survive, like we always do.
yeah, but like when you were that young, I remember we used to ride to a place called Red Devil in Union City.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's like I, I don't even know how we knew how to get to it. It was so far away. I mean, that was easily like a 15-mile round trip on a BMX bike,
Yeah.
and we made it down there. And
Yeah. Red Devil was great, man. That was a fun place to go
oh
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
iconic. It was iconic for her.
All right. So you're 16 years old,
Um,
living in LA, and you'd make the choice to move from LA. Your parents stayed in LA and then you came and lived with your sister, is that right?
yeah, I came up that summer, and my sister had just remarried, and I asked her that I would like to move in with her and get away from LA because LA was tough.
Hmm.
A lot of my friends were getting injured and hurt by gangs and stuff. I wanted no part of that.
Yeah.
Right.
So she decided to. What the funny story was, she married and then she ends up looking for a house in the Bay Area, and she was looking in San Ramon, believe it or not. And there's back then in what 80 79, there was nothing out here. So she ends up buying a house in Concord,
Hmm.
and then at the time she bought the house in Concord, she told me that she got a house, come on up, move in. And then I told my mom and dad that I was leaving.
Wow.
And so I packed my 67 bug and drove it down five and got here, and it's a history, never went back.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
and the hilarious thing was when I moved here, my sister said that I didn't want me to work first year, just wanted me to concentrate in school because I wasn't a very school person guy.
Hmm.
And so, which was fine. And then the following year is when I saw the ad for Danville Bike and Mower looking for a bike mechanic. And so I responded to that and went to Danville Bike and Mower, which is what I own now, the bike shop, which is now just Danville Bike. And I started working there in '79 for a guy named George Fulop. And it kind of just took off from there, basically.
Dang.
So George Fulop, was he the like the founder of Danville Bike and Mower, or did he buy it from somebody else? Do you know the history?
He bought Danville Bike and Mower from another guy that started the business in the '60s as Danville Bike and Mower.
Okay.
I don't remember the guy at all. We didn't talk very much about him, but he bought it from him. He had the shop for, I think, before I got there, maybe 4 years prior to that.
Okay.
And then, so then I worked for him for 2 years. And then when I graduated from high school, I was living with some family that the father was Jerry Motton, who was a general manager for Fry's Food Store. And he convinced me to leave Danville Bike and go work for Fry's Food Store because it was a better job. You had benefits, you had all this stuff that they were going to offer you. And so I did. I told George I was leaving, and he was kind of sad, but I left and got into the grocery business. But I wanted to continue doing stuff with the public. So I liked intermeeting with the people, and that was my thing. So doing the grocery business for 2 years was kind of tough because they just treated you like a number. They didn't appreciate your work as much as like today. And
Hmm.
so I kind of got tired of being in the grocery business. They were shifting me around to different stores, and so then I went back to George Fulop, and I just stopped by and said hi to him one day, and he's like, how you doing? I told him, I said, hey, I'd like to come back work part-time for you. And he said, sure. And I did, and kind of started working from there. And then eventually he ended up selling the business to another guy named David Ward. And David Ward had he had a small grocery store in Oakland. And when he bought the store, he he came to me and he said, hey, I understand that, you need to make more money. You need, you have to take care of your family and stuff like that. Give me a chance and let me get settled in with the bike shop, and then maybe we can work something out. And so I did. I hung out with David, and then eventually he gave me enough money to buy a house and stuff that I was making good money at the time.
Wow.
And so then I ended up staying with him, and I worked for David for 2.5 years. He realized that the business he bought under Danville Bike and more, he overpaid, and he realized that it wasn't making as much money as he thought it was. And at the time, bicycle industry was changing. Mountain biking was coming into the picture, and I was gun ho to run a bike shop. So at the time, there was just two bike shops in Danville, me and California Peddler. And so I was looking around for buildings to see if I can open a bike shop in Danville. He got wind of it, and then he told me, hey, make me an offer, and maybe we can work something out. And so I made him an offer, and we worked it out, and he carried the note, and that's how I got started.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, how old were you at this time?
So I just got married. I think I want to believe I was 23 years old when I bought the
Yeah.
bike shop. Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
yeah.
Young and ambitious.
Well, yeah, and I think at 23, like you think you know it all, and then
Oh, I absolutely knew nothing.
right,
Absolutely
you
nothing.
walk in. Yeah, I remember like, yeah, it's like you think you know how to run a bike shop, and then you get in, you're like, I don't know what the fuck, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. The only thing I can say about that, Chris, is that I was very mechanically inclined. So I wasn't too scared of taking on the challenge of fixing bikes.
Right.
But I didn't know anything else, and so money's coming in or money's going out. And I remember at the time you had to be approved to be a Schwinn dealer. And so I wasn't a Schwinn dealer approved yet. So I was getting all my stuff to Chuck Tyler, and Chuck Tyler was
Oh,
me my bikes
Oh,
because
wow.
because I wasn't approved yet. And then eventually I got approved, and Chuck Tyler, was no longer giving me Schwinns. But it was scary, at that age, having a bike shop, and then figuring out how you're going to keep going every month and paying rent and stuff. It was like,
Right.
wow, this is huge.
yeah.
And and
Yeah.
my and my parents, I mean, have absolutely no clue how I did this. You know,
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
but
I had a similar story. Like when I started my shop, Chris Robinson was unloading GTs, and that's how I could get bikes because I couldn't. I think I became a giant dealer at one point, but I only had like a $5,000 credit limit, so it was clearly not enough to operate very well on. So it's like, yeah, getting bikes from someone else, and that was a huge help. That kind of stuff's super helpful for us.
so
no,
Chris
absolutely.
Robinson was unloading GTs.
Yeah, he was a GT dealer, and he was getting out of box bikes. I think you might have been the dealer, or you were previously the dealer, and so he was just trying to get rid of them. And so I was able to floor them on there, and I would just pay him back as I sold them.
Wow,
Wow.
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
like, no overhead. I'd have to pay for them initially, so
yeah.
otherwise I would have been, dead.
Yeah.
Mike,
Yeah.
do you remember the box trains used to come in Livermore with the Schwinns,
Oh yeah, dude.
and we would go and unload them and bring them back?
Yep.
That was weird.
You
You
remember
know.
the Airdynes?
Oh yeah,
Unloading Airdynes. I was like 13 years old trying to get this 60-pound box
you're
off
done.
of. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, that's that was just crazy.
Airdyne's
Yeah.
going to every fire department too.
Yeah. That was
Yeah,
a pretty amazing device.
it
And
was.
the power of advertising. What was
Yeah,
the guy? There was some huge radio personality that was promoting the Airdyne. And gosh, oh, it's right. It's like Harvey something, I think, or but yeah, Schwinn started doing these ads with this guy, and man, we just had people. The Airdyne was good business back in the day.
yeah,
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
and the XR7, the,
yeah, yeah,
just the regular stationary bike.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
no doubt. Yeah,
yeah,
we had accounts with all the local hospitals, you
yes,
know.
yep.
Yeah, and rehab centers and yeah,
Yeah, that's
it
what you
was
wanted to get because you wanted to move those things. And I mean, I think I think we sold maybe like 50 a year. I don't know how many you guys sold, but it was a good
yeah.
number. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well we
So
had the
were you working in a shop, Jose, like during that Schwinn boom? You know, in the was that the early 70s?
No, no, I think I wasn't. That was when the gas crunch, right? Is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about? No,
right.
I wasn't in the bike industry yet.
Okay, all right, all right.
Yeah. But
Mhm.
that was like when everybody was buying varsities and Continentals that were 23-inch frames and you were only 5'2", right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the bike boom that I missed out on. And
Okay, yeah.
yeah, I don't remember that, but I do remember the gas crunch because in LA everybody had hot rods and all of a sudden these big old hot rods and long vans became part of their display in their front yard with grass growing in them because they couldn't
Yeah.
get the gas, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, you had to get gas like every other day or whatever, depending on your license number.
Oh, it was terrible. And I had a mini bike, and I'd go to my local bike, my gas station down on the corner, and I'd shake his little wand, and he'd fill up my tank on my mini bike all the time because I didn't have money to put gas in that thing. And then Kirby caught me one day doing that. He's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I come down here and I just get gas, put in my mini bike. I shake the little nozzles on everybody." And
You
he's
get
like, "Oh,
a few drops that way? Is that how it
I
works?
got at least half a tank, you know."
Wow.
Because you got to remember back then that the old pumps they would continue to just have fuel in them. People
Oh,
would
right.
people would like today. You see people right now, man. They take those things and they shake the shit out of them, thinking they're going to get every drop out of the gas lines and stuff like now. So yeah.
Are you telling us that you're telling everybody that listening to this podcast you used to steal gas? Is that what we're
Well,
hearing?
unfortunately, I wasn't. I don't think I no Kirby knew I was doing it. He gave me permission.
Uh-huh. So
Yeah.
let's go back to you leaving and coming to Northern California. And so what was your parents' reaction when you told them that?
Mom and dad really didn't have much to say because I pretty much I grew up with two other brothers and two sisters. There's five of us. Being the baby, I kind of did my own thing. I think when I turned 16 and I bought my bug, and I joined a bug club in LA, which was kind of a positive thing for me because that was kind of cool to hang around with cars because my brothers all hung around with cars, so I was in the cars with my brothers. And but then when I told my mom and dad that I wanted to leave, they were excited because I was always fighting. I was always in fights
Hmm.
in LA. I mean, I was not that I was a badass or anything like that, but I was always in a fight because it was just a natural thing to do back then. And so then when I told them I wanted to live with my sister, they were like, gun ho, get out of here. And
Yeah.
so then I left. And when I left, I mean, I told my parents, I promised them I'd come home. And every time I come visit them and I go to LA, I was like, man, I am not coming back to LA. It's just a mess here.
Yeah.
The cars and the people. It was just crazy. You know.
Yeah.
And with San Francisco, it was really nice and calm and quiet. And San Francisco, I mean, Bay Area was behind, totally behind. You
Yeah.
know. And so it was nice to grow up here in a valley that was not crowded and not crazy.
Right.
Hmm.
And so I just every time I went back, I finally told my parents, like, Dad, Mom, I don't think I'm coming home. And they're like, okay, that's fine. So I
Yeah.
never, but I visit them, quite a bit. I drive to LA, take the I-5 home, and the I-5 back. But that was a long drive. But it was fun. I liked it, enjoyed it, and unfortunately, my parents passed, and when they passed, my dad passed first, and then when my dad passed, I told my mom that we would eventually sell her house, and she'd have to live with one of us here in the Bay Area, and she moved up here 15 years ago, and
Okay.
and then it was good. It was pretty much we were all back together again.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, when you moved in with your sister, how old was your sister's older than you by how much?
So she is 10 years, 12, 13 years older than me.
Oh, wow. Okay.
She's the oldest, yeah.
So
Yeah.
did she become like your mother of
She,
sorts? Because like, you're this teenage kid living with her now and
yeah. Yeah, she was basically my mom. And it was funny when I was dating girls and I'd bring them to the house. She thought everybody thought that was my mom. And I said no. I said, I go no, that's my sister. They had no idea that that was my, that's not my mom. It was my sister. And
Right.
and she worked for the government in San Francisco. So she would, in Concord, she would take BART and then she would go to San Francisco. And her husband Mel was working at the Chevron station in Richmond. And so it was cool. She opened her doors and her heart to me, but she took care of me also when I was a baby. Both of my sisters, that's back then, that's what they would do.
Mhm.
So they always took care of me and looked, over me and make sure that I was, taken care of and being good, stuff like that. So my sister she became kind of a big part of my life.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
pushed me through. She pushed me through school. She thought I would never graduate, which I didn't think I would either, because I didn't think it was important. But I mean, she basically made me go through all that and do homework and stuff like that. So it became important in my life.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. You're so fortunate to have her and that type of approach to, bringing you in,
Yeah.
because that could go a bunch of different ways.
Oh,
I mean, that's
absolutely.
it's your sister. She could be, you know,
Yeah,
she's
today people can just turn their head and you'd go out on your street and do what you want. I look back at, I go back to LA and visit my cousins and LA, unfortunately, all my cousins that have kids around my age, I mean, they basically right now they're a huge family. All they did was pop out kids and work, for a corporation and just
Mhm.
become that person. And I'm glad I didn't do that because if I would have stayed in LA, who knows what I would have done? I could have been one of those numbers where I'm just, have a bunch of kids and here I am working at a taco stand.
Hey, what's wrong with a taco stand?
Today,
Uh,
in today's society, taco stands are good.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
right. That's
yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah,
So how long did you live with your sister? You mentioned that you lived with a grocer also. So
yeah.
you,
So when I graduated from Clayton Valley, and I moved in with I was not dating the daughter, but the family lived in Clayton in a huge house. And the father, when I first met Debbie Martin my junior year, the father took me in, and this guy I mean, back then the people around in around here were just so open. They were so friendly. They were just trustworthy. And this guy, he's like he didn't have a son. He had two daughters and he was really taken back that how much of a mechanic I was, that I knew a lot. And so this guy just says, "Hey, I told him, I said, I go, yeah, I think I'm going to move out of my sister's house and get an apartment and this and that." And he's like, "No, you're not." He says, "You're moving in with us." And I'm like, I said, "What do you mean, Jerry?" He says, "Hey, we got a spare room. You're like family, and we want you to live with us. I mean, you use my tools in my garage. You work on your cars. You have access to everything that you've had in the last 2 years. So I want you to be part of our family." And so Jerry moved me in, and I moved into his house in Clayton Valley, and it was just a mind blower that this guy opened his house, and I became part of his family. And he had a house. They had a house in Berryessa, Spanish Flat, and we'd go there a lot and go skiing, water skiing. And he would just say, "Hey, take the boat, take the car, and take the kids, go to up there and hang out for the weekend." And it was just for me, it was just like unbelievable how people just I never expected any of that.
Yeah.
And so I lived with them for probably 4 years. Um,
Wow.
and the daughters was funny because everybody thought I was dating one of the daughters, but we were so close, like sisters, I couldn't do it. I said, I can't do it, and
Yeah.
expected that.
So, so how did that relationship get? Because I thought you said Debbie Martin was that a girlfriend initially?
No,
Or okay. Oh, you were just friends.
we were just friends from high school. And
Everyone just assumed.
yeah, 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 I promise.
Yeah, if Jerry's listening.
Yeah, no, no. Unfortunately, Jerry's not around.
All
But
right, we're
but
safe.
anyways, no, we were just close friends, and so and we're still close friends today. I talk to Debbie all the time. We're like brothers and sisters. They've come over, they hang out. They know my wife, Yvette. Now, my wife, Yvette, different story. She thought I always was doing something with Debbie because I lived
Mhm.
there.
Right.
And so when I started dating my wife and I'm living with these two girls, my wife's thinking like, okay, this guy's pretty lucky. He has me and then he has somebody on the side. And I kept telling her, I go, that's not the case, honey.
Yeah. Wow.
But
Yeah, that you've had
it
a
was,
lot of generous people in your life, from
oh,
your
I did.
sisters willing
Yeah.
to take you in, and then,
Yeah.
Jerry. So was the bicycle part of the deal back then? Were you riding and
Oh,
where was
well,
the bike during all this?
so the bike, I actually stopped riding bicycles because, I was in my bug. I had my 67 bug. So I was more in the cars at the time.
Hmm.
But then when I went to work for George Fulop, and then the High Sierras were just coming into the picture, the mountain bikes,
Hmm.
and Tomac was just starting to race for KOM,
Yeah.
and so I believe at the time Bob Lambros was my rep,
Yeah, Bob.
and Bob asked me a couple times to join him to go to like these certain local races and help him set up the Schwinn High Sierra. And we were just lending them to people without any ID. We'd give these bikes to these people, and they were just riding them. Like, I think China Camp was our first event, and I'm looking at Bob, going, Bob, do we going to get these bikes back? And he goes, well, I don't know, I don't care. Bob always had an attitude that no big deal. It's not my problem, you know.
Uh-huh. Right.
And so it's funny. We got all the bikes back and stuff, except I think two, and and so we ended up bringing the bikes back. And then Bob goes, well, since you helped me out, I'm going to give you three High Sierras at the time. So
Damn.
then I had these three Schwinn High Sierras, and I started riding them. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. This is like a big BMX bike, you know? So then
Yeah.
that's when I started riding, back in 85. And so I got into the mountain bikes and started riding all the High Sierras. And then obviously I got up to the KOM, which is the better, Paramount frames.
Yeah.
And then remember Tomac was in the picture, but then Ned Overend was
Yeah.
racing for Paramount, and then eventually he ended up leaving and going to Specialized.
Yeah. I
Dang.
remember.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah, it was terrible. Freaking
But
Ned. Yeah.
it was a interesting time to see. We at the time, what do we go? We go to we go to Long Beach. LA is where the bike convention was in the beginning. Remember?
Oh yeah.
So we go to LA and then do the bike convention there and see all the bikes and stuff and get all excited over these mountain bikes. So we're like, wow, look at this! This is going to be the new thing, you know.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it brought the bike industry back to life.
Did you ever go to the trade show in Long Beach, Chris?
No, I think the first one I went to was in Anaheim.
Anaheim, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So when
right.
did it?
Anaheim.
What year did it switch over to from Long Beach to Anaheim?
No, I'm sorry, not Long Beach. It was in Anaheim. It was in Anaheim.
Anaheim.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was
Okay.
gonna say
Yeah.
I never went to Long Beach.
No, Anaheim.
Yeah.
Anaheim.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah,
Okay.
Anaheim was cool because they had those Disney nights where it was
yes,
only bike industry.
yeah. My
Like,
my wife loved that. She loved
yeah.
that.
Oh,
All the time going to Disneyland and taking my cousins to Disneyland and my nephews and nieces. They loved that. They were just like,
yeah.
oh,
This
I
uncle,
the
always,
uncle.
newer generation. They don't know that was the best, man. Just like Space Mountain,
oh
round,
Yeah,
yeah,
round,
right.
round.
no lines, no
I was
lines.
surprised too. A lot of people in the bike business were just like, nah, I'm not going to Disneyland. I'm just
Yeah,
like, are you kidding?
yeah,
Right.
There's
Well,
gonna be
especially
nobody there.
when there's nobody there. It's like
Right.
you could never pull that off now. It's like that would cost way too much money.
Oh
Oh,
man. Yeah.
not just that. It's cost a lot of money just to go to Disneyland today, and it's so crowded. I mean,
Oh
Right.
yeah.
I feel sad for people that go there. There's people that have they're Disneyland junkies, and I mean they go there all the time, but it's got to cost them a fortune.
Oh yeah,
Hey,
right.
listen, just between the three of us here, I'm glad those years are over.
Oh, absolutely.
That place, I mean, it's cool and all, but man, that I used to get so mad. We'd go to check in, and when they had, I remember the last time we went, I don't know if it was the last time, but one of the time. But anyway, they have that park hopper where you can go to
Yeah,
California,
yeah,
and I said I got so mad when I paid the tickets. I'm just like, why did you just take? I just handed the wallet, just like take it all.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
You want my jacket that I'm wearing too? I
yeah.
mean, Jesus.
Yeah, you want
It's
my
just
kid too?
it's insane how much it is to get, and it is, but it does. There's some great memories, of course, of
Yeah,
Disneyland with your kids and everything.
yeah.
Right.
But
But
You're
now
my
always
goodness,
you're
it's
just
two
always
hundred dollars.
guaranteed. You're always
yeah.
guaranteed to get sick too, man. So every time we went there,
Oh
man,
yeah.
kids were sick. I was sick. It's like touching everything. It's
Yeah,
disgusting.
Well, and you got people from all over the world, right? So you got all this different type of stuff floating around.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Disneyland, which is funny, a story I'll tell you. So my sister being working for the government back in the old days in the 70s, my sister would take us to Disneyland once a week. We'd
Oh
go
wow.
because she would get these passes that allow us to go into Disneyland, and it was so cheap. The ABC things and all that, the cards, the tickets. So we would
Yeah.
go to Disneyland so often. I got to the point where I was like, I am so tired of Disneyland that I ended up getting lost one time on purpose.
Oh
And then,
geez.
and then I ended up at the Disneyland jail because that's where they would take you to, and then parents would come and get you. And I remember my mom and dad and my sister just schooled me and told me all kinds of stuff, and I'm just looking at them going, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'll never leave you guys again," you know. But
Next week he's gone.
yeah,
Yeah, right.
then I never went back again. I'm not going to Disneyland no more.
Well, that might have served as inspiration to get you out of LA before you actually did go to jail. You
Oh
spent
my
some
god,
time in the Disney jail, figured out jail's not for me.
it wasn't. Even Goofy and Donald was there with me. They were saying, "You don't want to come back."
Oh, brother. All right. All right. So now you're working for the grocer guy,
I'm
and
working for Jerry.
yeah, and
Yeah.
he decides he's gonna sell. You're looking around at another building. He gets wind of it. He wants to sell it to you. How do you come up with the how? I guess he carried the note. Did you have to come up with money down payment, or he just?
So, so when I bought the bike shop, I took everything to my accountant and I told him, about the bike shop, and he said, "Okay, well, it's not worth this much money. Make him an offer and see what happens." So I made him an offer. He accepted it, and I had $10,000 in my pocket in my bank, and I
Okay.
said, all I have is 10 grand, and what do you want to do? And so since he told me the shop, he says, "I'll tell you what, I'll carry the note at a um, the difference, and then every other year the interest rate would go up a little bit because I couldn't get a loan." And
Mm-hmm.
so at the time, I'm sitting there going, "What the hell? What? Sure, absolutely, I'll take it." So that's I basically got into my shop with 10 grand, and the first year, obviously, the mountain bike season came in, and the mountain bikes were taking off. So the money was coming in just like crazy. I mean, we were selling bikes like crazy, and the bank I was dealing with at the time was Bank of America, and they were watching my account grow and grow and grow. By the second year, they kept asking me if I needed money, and I said, "Well, at the time I was still, green, and I'm like scared. I'm thinking like, no, no, I'm fine, I'm great. I'm handling everything the way I am." And by about 2 years into it, 2.5 years into it, the bank says, "Hey, you're entitled. You can get an SBA loan, low interest rate, blah blah blah." So I started getting wind of interest rates and how money was working. And Dave's interest rate went up a little bit, and so I'm thinking like, okay, well the payment's affordable still. I can live with that. And then eventually got to the point where I'm like, okay, I went to the bank and I go, how much can I get? What's my interest rate at? I think at the time I owed him $70,000.
Mm-hmm.
And they told me, "Oh, we'll give you 70 grand, no problem. Interest rate's going to be this, your payment will be this." I said, "Okay, cool." I went back to David and I said, "Dave, I tell you what," I said, I'll stay with you at this interest rate, but you're going to have to cap it. I don't want this more interest rate going up." And he said, "No." He said, "No, it's going to stay the same. Interest rates will keep going up, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "Okay, I'll tell you what, why don't you Friday come down to the bank with the paperwork and the deed and everything? I'm going to write you a check." And his jaw hit the ground. And he just looked at me like, "Oh my God, what just happened?"
Yeah.
So he shows up at the bank and I give him the balance, $72,000. And he walked away and he was just dumbfounded. And at the time, I was like, "Wow, this is awesome." And it was cool because my payment came out of, because I dealt with B of A and my deposits and stuff like that, all went into B of A. I didn't have to worry about that payment. It's like I never saw it.
Right.
And so it was just coming out of my account and it was cool. And So, I was blessed with that, and I just kept going forward from there, and here I am today.
Was he
Uh,
thinking like, damn, maybe I should have held on to this
well,
business?
he asked me, he says, damn, he says, what happened? I go, well, I said, you know what? Mountain bike happened, and the lawnmower business just died. I mean, he knew that I knew it was going to die. You
Yeah.
know, fixing lawnmowers back then was just, when you got involved with that, people were starting to throw the machines away because it was cost too much to fix them. You can buy a new one at Home Depot was just came into the program.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
And so you got all these, people coming in selling this equipment cheap. A lot of guys weren't repairing, so I saw the lawnmowers dying. And so, but at the time, I don't know if you carried the GoPeds in your shop at all.
The
Did you ever get
mopeds.
involved? Did you ever get involved with GoPeds, the guy in Livermore?
Oh yeah, yeah. Yep.
So, I still, because I was in the lawnmower situation, I got involved with the GoPeds, which is this two-stroke thing.
Yep.
And because I knew being a mechanic, I can work on those. So I still dingled or tangled with the two-stroke motors. And then, Danville Bike we were selling the GoPeds and
Well,
mopeds.
I remember at Livermore Schwinn, where I grew up working, we did mopeds also.
Yeah.
We worked on mopeds, and
Yes.
I remember like sometimes you and I would go back and forth to get
Yeah.
different parts or
Yeah.
troubleshooting or whatever.
Yeah. Remember the
Yeah.
poop mopeds? Poop
Oh man,
mopeds.
I hated those things.
Oh.
They had pedals, Chris. So when they had pedals, it became a bicycle. It was
Uh-huh.
amazing.
Right.
Oh
I remember
man.
seeing those around, but yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some of those I've watched a couple of them like on eBay. They're expensive. These guys are getting some good money for those things. You know, it just
Just
blows me
shows you.
away.
It just shows you anything old could
I
Yeah,
know.
right.
see a resurgence, man. I hate it. I hated working on those stupid things. Yeah.
So that means that as we get old, we're going to be worth money.
We can see you on eBay soon.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. Oh man. Yeah. Well, all right. So the mountain bike, now because you've been racing, right? So during
Yeah.
this, during your, you're owning, you got a lot of new things happening. You got married, you've got this bike shop that's now flourishing. Were you riding seriously, or was there time to ride? Because working in the industry all these years, owners get into the industry to because they want to ride bikes and they think
Yes.
that they're going to be spending a lot of time riding bikes and
Yes.
they love riding. And then they get in the business and then they realize like, oh, I have to do businessman stuff now. I can't really ride bikes anymore. So were you able to manage like that? Because I know
Yes.
you still did racing,
Yes.
but
So
did you just race out of shape or did you get yourself in shape? Did you stay in shape? How did that all that work?
I stayed in shape because I worked out doing other things. But when I did eventually, I mean, I was riding the mountain bikes. I was riding up Mount Diablo, which, oh my God, at the time I was like, who the hell wants to do that? You know? And so riding up Mount Diablo with friends and doing all this crazy mountain biking and going to Tahoe, going to Downeyville in 1979. Uh,
Wow.
about 15 of us went to Downeyville in 79, which now is completely blown up.
Yeah.
And we had, back then, I was riding at the time my KOM rigid bike.
Yeah.
And we're all on rigid bikes. I have a photo. I think I showed it to you, Mike, at the shop. We're all standing there in Downeyville, and we're in a group shot, and everybody has all these hardtails.
Yeah.
So riding in '79 is when I basically stuck with it and decided to just continue to ride. And then of course I did road bike riding, and then eventually doing the mountain challenge. That was an adventure right there. Every
Hmm.
year doing a mountain challenge, and getting involved with Chuck Tyler. And that was fun. That was part of my introducing to myself as far as I loved biking and starting to do racing and stuff like that. And then eventually one of my friends talked me into doing a freaking Ironman, half Ironman in Hawaii.
Wow.
And I'm thinking like, are you serious? I mean, how is this going to happen? But I did it, and I did I think 3 of them, but I suck swimming. I can tell you right now. Um, I was very close to the last one coming out of the water, and
Uh-huh.
and once I got out of the water, I made up with running and the bicycle. And it was fun, going to Hawaii and Maui and doing the Xterra race at the time.
Oh yeah.
And then again, I could get convinced to talk in. You can talk me into quite a few things, and I would probably do it. And then my friends told me about Leadville, and they're like, "Yeah, let's do Leadville." And I'm like, "Are you crazy? I just saw a documentary on Lance Armstrong." I said, "Who the hell wants to do Leadville? I mean, that sounds miserable,
Yeah.
you know." And so here we go. Here we go to Leadville. Now we're training to go to do Leadville, and I think that experience was incredible. I mean, it was to go up there and do this ride, and just be around pro athletes was amazing. They took it, you can tell the serious guys, and I think I did it in 8 hours and 37 minutes
Oh,
at the
Wow.
time,
yeah, that's
and,
good.
and I got the gold buckle and everything, and I was proud of myself. And
Oh,
I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I don't think I ever want to do this one again. And here we go. We're going back 2 more times.
Oh, did you really? So you did Leadville 3 times?
Well, I did it twice. The third
Oh,
time,
okay.
remember I broke my leg.
Oh,
Uh,
that's right.
I was there. We were just doing a practice lap, and I hit a tree and broke my leg.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and then didn't do Leadville after that. I said, okay, I think I'm going to retire. And so no more racing. And that was my last time I decided to get on a bike and race. But I ride for fun now, so I have fun.
Yeah.
What year was that last race you did?
Leadville, it's at the shop. I want to say 2020. Let me see. It's got to be about, I want to say maybe 8 years ago.
Okay, so
Okay.
that's not even that long ago. Shit.
No, it's
Yeah.
been about 8 years. Yeah,
Good for
yeah,
you.
And so 9 hours is like one of they have two benchmarks, right? 9 hours and six
yes,
hours,
yes,
right?
yes,
So
yes.
you beat 9 hours, you get a buckle. You beat
Yeah,
6 hours, you get some ridiculous buckle you could never
you get a
wear.
huge buckle, big old
Right.
buckle. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you go back and you keep going back every year, you eventually get a jacket. And I go, hell, I don't want the jacket. I'm not going back.
Yeah.
I raced Leadville and all I got was this jacket.
Yeah, yeah,
Damn
yeah.
it.
It was funny being in Leadville. There's this lady there. There's this girl. I swear to God, this girl was probably 4'7". She was riding a uh, Niner hardtail, and I'm looking at her going, how does this bike fit this girl?
Yeah.
But she was there every year on the same bike, and she was good. She would finish the race. I don't know what her time was, but she would finish and get something out of it. But this
Mhm.
girl was there every year, and I was thinking like, damn, you're awesome, to do that.
Yeah, we had this guy on, Michael Houghton. He goes by Hottie, but
Mhm.
he has a podcast, the Leadville podcast. So he does a year-round podcast on or no, I don't know, on Leadville.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how many episodes he does a year. I think he does like 20 something episodes a year on Leadville, training for
Yeah,
Leadville, what to expect, where all the different zones are,
yeah.
course diagnostic, all this stuff. Yeah, but yeah, I know, like, if you listen to his podcast, I mean, there are people that have been doing that for decades.
Well, and not just that, they have a run. They have the 100-mile run before the race, before the mountain bike race,
Oh,
and
wow.
people would do that back to back, and I'm thinking like, oh, you guys are crazy.
Yeah, well,
That's dedication right there.
that's the world of ultra, it seems like. You end up
Yeah,
with these people that are, you know,
yeah.
they're just psycho,
I remember riding, going up power line, and the power line, you've seen the videos. If you've seen the video that Lance Armstrong did, I'm looking at this thing going, oh my God, I got to go up this hill of power lines, and people would be there cheering you on, and they would push you if you get kind of slowed down and stuck and stuff. But once you got through the power line, then you're heading up to the very peak of the mountain, and at the time, I'm looking at the pros coming at me, and I'm going, oh my God, these guys, it's a single lane, just wide enough for people to pass you. And I'm going, I'm working my butt off right now. I'm almost there. And I'm going, if one of these guys takes me out, I am going to kick some butt, because I'm like, I've worked too hard to get taken out from one of these guys coming down this gravel road. And I'm
Right.
just like, oh my God. And when I got to the top, I like, thank God I made this. And here I go. Now I'm turning around. And then as I got closer to Leadville, you can hear the people cheering you on and stuff like that. And it's so deceiving because you're thinking you're there. and
Hmm.
you're going, oh my God, I got to go here. I got to make a left here. I got to make a right here. I got to go down this road. And you're going, holy shit. I mean, you hear the people and you're just waiting for them. You're waiting to see that open cheer, like the ocean opening up, and there they are, And I never, I'm going, where is these people? I'm thinking, am I hearing things, you know?
Hmm.
But eventually you got to that end, you saw that, and you're like, oh my God, it's over.
I think we've all been on these rides where you're ready for it to be over, and
Yeah.
then it's like maybe the last 5 miles, but it's like the
Right.
longest 5 miles of your life, it seems like,
Oh my. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
but
you've climbed Haleakala
yeah,
how many
yeah,
times?
I don't
And
know.
so, yeah, so I remember one time we were there and everyone said, well, the right way to climb Haleakala is you got to go and put your water in the ocean.
Yeah,
Put your
put your
foot in
bike in
the
the ocean. Yeah.
put your bike on the sand, walk to the ocean, put your foot on the water, and then get on your bike and go to the top. That was the correct way to do it.
Hmm.
Ah.
And we did that one time, and I'm thinking like, okay, well, that'll probably be the last time I do that. Because
Yeah, then you
I
got to
don't have.
ride with a wet foot.
Oh my God, it was hilarious. I mean, the things that we experience as you, Chris, and all of us do these rides. I mean, it's amazing that our kids, today. I mean, my son won't ever pedal that much. Uh,
Right.
I mean, they're on e-bikes now, right?
Yeah.
So today it's like, okay, I want to see you get on an analog bike and ride up to Mount Diablo, and they're looking at you like you crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny that oh, I had this weird experience this weekend. So I'm doing my hill repeats, and I'm just about to the top of Del Val, and this dude on this it's like this fat tire um e-bike. He comes whizzing by me like, uh and and then he's at the top. And so I stopped, I talked to everybody. I was like, hey man, how's it going? And just wanted to kind of get to know him a little bit. And he was like, well, I just blew right by you. And I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, class two throttle, buddy. I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah. And I said, oh yeah, man. I said, yeah, I've done some rides on the e-bikes, man. They're a lot of fun. I'm just trying to diffuse the thing.
Yeah,
But man, he was very proud of himself. I just don't think that you get a real understanding, riding these e-bikes because, you know, they like if you're on an acoustic bike and you see this, like there's some things that like, oh, that's not even possible on a
yeah,
regular bike. Especially out of our local lake, Del Val, there's 30+% pitches. I mean, it's crazy.
yeah.
And but on an e-bike, you can just pedal right on up,
Oh,
and yeah, anyway, it's just fun. But
well, it's funny. We'll be, as we'll be riding Mount Diablo or Los Trompes, and we're pedaling our e-bikes up this hill, and then we look at each other and we're like, we did this on analog bike, guys. Can you believe it? We did this 5 years ago on analog bikes, and here we are now.
uh,
We're on e-bikes, just cruising up this like it's peanut butter.
well, the e-bikes are still, I mean, I wonder how many potential cyclists get ruined by the e-bike. Um, but
Yeah.
but the e-bike does really, I mean, it takes someone that you don't have to be an athlete to get on an e-bike,
No.
go ride at
No.
a park and have a blast,
No.
and that's awesome,
Yeah.
because you want
I
more
like I
people to
like the
experience it.
e-bike because the e-bike I can go, the loop that I do from my house on an analog bike is about 14 miles. Takes me about an hour and 15 minutes, maybe an hour and 12, and I can do it on an e-bike in about 45 minutes.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So, and I can go to work and I'm not tired, where,
Right.
you go to work, you're tired for about 3 hours and then eventually you wake up.
uh-huh.
Yeah, I used to do this when I had my shop. I would go out at lunch and just rip out this like 20-mile ride on my e-bike, but I could do it within an hour, no problems.
Yeah.
So you just
Yeah,
Yeah.
come out and I could still get that loop in, and it's not even just for the pedaling part, but it's just good to be outside, right?
oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Trees, it's good for your head.
Yeah.
So,
It's been interesting being in the bike industry during the e-bike, let's call it craze. I remember in the early years of the e-bikes, man, there was so much resistance from cyclists. Cyclists had a definite attitude, and there's still a little bit of that even
yeah.
today.
Yeah.
But in the early days, I remember I did I've told this story before, so I apologize. But we did a demo at Corral in South Lake Tahoe, and the E mountain bike had just come out. It was called the Full E from Giant, and we had also just launched a Rain all mountain bike, and we had people there to ride the Rains. And the Rain, we only had like I think we had 12 of them or something, and they were gone. Like we're running shuttles. We were at this spot. The guy at the shop had a big van with he could put bikes on top and on the back, and he was shuttling people up to the top of Corral, and they'd ride down Corral, and then they'd end up right at the tent, and then we'd switch them out and run another shuttle.
Hmm.
We couldn't get people to ride the e-bikes.
Yeah,
And then,
I didn't do it. I wouldn't ride them.
well, I finally got a couple guys to ride them, and because they were waiting on Rains, I said, "Well, the shuttle just left." I said, "We got these full suspension e-bikes. You could take this bike. You could probably ride up Corral, and you'll be there before they get there in the van."
Yeah.
And so I got a couple of people to do it, and then one of the guys comes down on, and he rode down with the Rain people, and there were people waiting on the Rains. And I had told him, I said, "Oh, there's someone that's ahead of you that is on an e-bike right now. And they're going to get the first, large that comes back or whatever." But anyway, this person, when he came back on his e-bike, he was so stoked. He was just like, "Oh my God, dude, I'm rethinking everything now, this
Yeah,
thing's
all
so
right.
fun." And,
Yeah.
but the person who was waiting took issue with it. And then next thing you know, these guys are about to go there. I mean, I had to step between them and
Jeez.
tell them, like, "Guys, it's the sun's out. We got bicycles. What are we doing here?" You know?
Wow.
It's
And
Wow.
always you're cheating. That's cheating. It's
all right, I'm the motor, it's like,
right,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like,
okay,
who are you
yeah,
cheating?
right, exactly.
Yeah, the e-bikes changed everybody's world for sure. No doubt
Yeah.
about it. And
And
today, it's funny, like, last weekend, I think I told you, Mike, Saturday, I mean, we sold like, 9 bikes. And out of
yep,
9 bikes, 6 of them were e-bikes and the other ones were analog.
yeah.
So it's like, it's definitely changing.
What do you think? What's your floor mix like these days? Like e-bike compared to acoustic?
Um, it's probably 30 e-bikes and the rest acoustic.
Okay. So like percentage wise, like what do you think? Like your floor, like a bike, bikes on the floor.
I want to say probably
30%. You thinking? Is that what you? Is that what you meant?
30%, 30%
Okay.
e-bikes,
Okay.
and then the rest e-bikes. The
That's
rest
what I
are
was gonna say.
analog. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's where it's at.
Yeah.
When did you see like the big push? Because I know like when I was in retail, it was like, it was like hard to commit to so many, and then there was a point where it was just like, yeah, we have to commit so much more floor space because
Right.
it's selling. Was that, how long ago do you think that was or was that even the situation for you?
So the situation, I think, with the e-bikes was during COVID.
COVID. Yeah, right. That was
Yeah.
us too.
I think that basically said, you know what, we're going to take everything, we're going to sell everything, and we sold all the e-bikes. And I think that was the biggest push for all bicycle shops that just said, you know what, e-bikes are here to stay, and people are going to buy them. And that's when I think your floor space changed because Mike Stewart would come in the shop and he's like, wow, you're selling, you got pivots on the floor, or you got all these other bikes, and you only have maybe 5 Giants, right?
What? I mean, I was doing my job.
And then Mike's like, well, come on, brother, give me some love,
Yeah.
That's a famous line.
And it's funny how the world changes. I mean, right now, brother Love there, he's got most of my floor space as it is.
It's never enough for Mike Stewart, man.
Exactly. Yeah.
Come on now.
But now we pump the brakes on, so he understands.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, there was a steady arc going into COVID with the e-bike, right?
Yeah.
The e-bike had established itself as something really, it was happening at retail.
Yeah.
But then once COVID hit, man, it went
For
wild.
Zonko. Yeah. It opened the doors. Floodgates were open. Holy shit. Here we go. We're going for a run.
Yeah, I remember prior to COVID, we had these guys from Holland that travel with me. They work for Giant and e-manufacturing and marketing. There were 2 manufacturing guys and a marketer, and we came to your shop, Jose. I don't know if you remember, but
I do remember. Yeah, I do remember.
But they were saying that in over where they're at, every bike shop it's e only.
Yes.
And these are not e-bike shops; they're just bike shops.
Yeah.
every bike on the floor is an e-bike. And he says, and we'll order you an acoustic bike if that's what you want, but everything's e-bike. And
Wow.
and I was just like, I don't see that ever happening here. And he goes, give yourself 5, 10 years.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know if it'll ever get to that, but it certainly is, it seems like anybody new to the sport that, you know, I don't know. We're just seeing e-bikes everywhere.
Yeah. And it's funny when I go to work all the time and I drive down Tasajera and I look at these people on these analog bikes and my hats go off to them. They're just and we're talking people that are still, pushing 70 years old,
Yeah.
you know, and they're
Yeah.
on their road bike and they're just pumping up and down the road. I'm like, God, that's great. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And
This
there's
week.
people that are just they're not willing to go yet.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I mean, that's good for them.
Well, this weekend again, not the e guy, but there was this group from Tracy, and I see them every once in a while. They come like I'm doing repeats, and they'll come. They all have Tracy Bicycle Club attire on, but there
Yeah.
was this young kid, Justin, and he was just 20. But and I didn't even do the math on this, but his dad was in the group. I rode with Justin. We did a couple laps together, and then his dad, he told me his dad was there, and his dad was 71.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's climbing Del Val on a Saturday in a group ride. And but
On
then
an
I started,
analog bike.
yeah, on an analog bike. And then I started thinking about it. It's like he had Justin when he was 51. I mean, that's pretty
Yeah.
late in life to have a baby, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
But
here he is trying to keep up with them.
yeah,
Right.
not
Yeah.
doing so well in that
No,
regard, but
no,
but
no,
still
no.
getting it done though at
Yeah.
71, man. I always love it when I see these old guys out there still,
Yeah.
still pushing it.
Yeah. Justin's got a tow rope for his dad to pull him up the rest of the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Justin's very serious, young guy. He's got a
Nice.
coach, he's all
Nice.
about it. He had Arrow socks on. I was teasing him.
Oh my God. Oh
Yeah.
God. That's funny.
Classic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know you know, uh you had this legendary guy that was a big part of the shop for a lot of years.
Oh yeah.
And I always knew him as Rippy.
Right.
And
Yeah.
yeah. And Rippy, how many times did Rippy get up Diablo? Do we know the official number?
So Rippy Talavera, I want to say, as far as I know of what I remember, he used to be also the Alamo Crazies. They used to run up the mountain. So not only
Oh,
did he ride, these guys used to run up the mountain.
wow.
Neat.
And back then they would run up. They were called Alamo Crazies, and eventually he ended up. So he started mountain biking in '90. I want to say '90. I think in 1990s when he got introduced to mountain bikes.
Okay.
And he started riding the mountain bikes, and he was realizing that this is easier on his leg. And him and five other guys, I call them the five caballeros. Uh, they basically hung out together, and they would beat each other up going up the mountain. But I think Rippy had over 500 climbs before he decided that obviously he got older and he got sick and he passed away. And I want to say he accomplished over 500 times riding up that mountain.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he was something else because I remember riding with him as a young guy. I'm thinking like, I'm not gonna let this old son of a bitch beat me up the mountain. And we would go up there and cook, and he'd say, let him go, just let that guy go. He's gonna blow up by the time he gets to Rock City and Junction. He'll be done and he'll be behind us. And sure shit, every time he did that to
Uh-huh.
me. And I'm like, and then I'm like, Rippy, slow. And Rippy was like a locomotive train. He would just cruise so slow. And by the end of the day, he would just be like a steam train, just moving on and on, never slow down. That
Right.
guy would be on his bike. If he could, he'd be on a bike 8 hours a day. That was his life. It was amazing.
Well, the thing I loved about Rippy was like I'd go to the shop and the interactions with the two of you. I mean, if we could have just set up a camera and
Uh,
watch the way that you two communicated with each other,
oh yeah,
it
yeah.
was it was fucking awesome, man.
It was
And
it was it was cheers. It was cheers, but in the bike shop.
yeah, yeah,
It-
it was incredible.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
and
was. He would. I would have to tell him, Chris, to calm down sometimes. Customers would come in with a piece of shit bike, And they're like, okay, we want to tune this up. And he's looking at him going, why do you want to do that? Just throw the thing away. Buy a new bike. It's a piece of shit. And I'm going, Chris. I go, Rip. I go, stop. You can't do that to these customers.
Yeah.
He didn't understand that,
Right.
He was giving him good advice, though. He was
Oh,
giving
yeah.
him good advice, but
Yeah.
sometimes you gotta
Yeah.
sugarcoat things a little bit more, as
Yeah.
we
Right.
all
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
I'm like, God, you just can't come out and call out the bike and tell it's a piece of shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's like, this is my dad's, and he's passed away. And you're like, oh, shit.
Okay.
Yeah. I go, it's sentimental to some of these people. And he's like, oh, who cares? Throw the thing away. I'm like, oh my God.
Only an owner. That's an owner's perspective, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But
Well,
that guy had his kids, one of his daughters, so he was a gymnastics. He was into gymnastics. And his daughter went to the Olympics in the 70s. So he had good genes. The guy was something else.
yeah.
He was short. He couldn't. He was a short guy. I think he was 5'4", 5'3".
I was gonna say, if Jose's calling him short, he was short.
He was shorter than me. I could look down at him for one. Yeah.
This is a short crowd right here.
Yeah,
This
that's right.
this circle
Yeah.
right
Short
here.
crowd, yeah.
And
But,
all of us immediately would like Rip just upon meeting him because he's shorter than us.
Yeah.
Hey there, little guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that little guy can go forever, man.
He could
He's
go.
he's like energized Benny. Never stop.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jose did a memorial ride after Rip had passed. Jose did this memorial ride, and we rode up to the top of Diablo. It was very fitting. And another one of your customers, Baxter, that's how I know him.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Man, he gave this beautiful speech
Yeah.
about Rippy, and yeah, it was just a moment. Like, I'll never forget that moment when we were
Yeah.
up there on the hillside, and he was giving tribute to Rippy. It was beautiful.
Yeah. So, Chris, we have fish tanks up there, believe it or not. At the top of below Juniper, Rip put these goldfish in there in a trough.
No
That's
kidding.
right.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, we went from like 10 goldfish. There's got to be over 1,000 in these things.
Oh shit.
And so he's like going, oh my God, there's like so many of these goldfish. So he starts transferring them to other troughs below Juniper. So we got 3 troughs out there with goldfish.
Oh no kidding.
So we do have Frank. Frank goes there and he feeds them and takes care of them and makes sure that they're still okay. And but yeah, they're still up there, the goldfish.
Wow, that's awesome.
So they've been up there since mountain biking started back in the days.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's
Classic.
Great. Yeah,
Very good.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We go up there and we'll still go up there and look at the fishes and think of Rip. And it was amazing guy.
Yeah.
That's great, man.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's a cool story.
All right, let's get back to your business now. You're no spring chicken.
Nope.
You've been doing this a long time.
Oh, below the belt.
Well, I mean, we're all in that boat. But have you given much thought to, like, are you just gonna, some people just want to work, work all the way, run all the way out. We're gonna work till the day I die, type of thing. Or are you looking at an exit strategy? You got any plans on, trying to dial things back a notch? Or I know you're full go. You're 100% throttle all the time.
I still enjoy what I do. I love what I do. I like dealing with the public, like I said. Every day is different. There's never the same day, which is awesome. The bike industry, it's a challenge. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you always have to make everybody happy. You can't make everybody happy. There's always that person that just doesn't like you or doesn't like what you did. I think my strategy is I like to go until I'm 70 if I can. If something comes up before that, then so be it. And if I go, I exit out of there. But I like to stay in the industry for a little bit longer and just keep walking on it. I think I want to see the changes. I want to see what other changes come up. Not that I don't think there will be a lot of more changes, although we're just starting to see the road bikes becoming e-bikes. So that's a new thing and a new thing that's coming up.
Yeah.
But my son's 33. He's in the corporate. He came down one time and he ran my store for a week. And when I got back from vacation, he looked at me and he said, "I'm not into this. This is not me. I don't want to work this hard. This is not going to happen.
Yeah, he's got
And
that cushy corporate job.
yeah, and
Yeah,
it's funny because he just decided that that was his not his gig,
Right.
and that's fine. I mean, it doesn't work for everybody. I mean, you like to have someone follow your steps. It'd be nice, if Danville Bike continues, and I hope it does. We'll see what
yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, it's
you
definitely
gotta,
it's one
yeah,
of those things you have to have passion for. I think, if you don't have the passion, it's just it's hard work no matter how you put it. But
Right.
if it's something you're passionate about, not as it's not the same as if you're just not your thing.
Exactly.
mhm,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, nothing wrong with working hard, but
Nope. Nope. But it is what it is. My daughter, she does her thing. She's got her job going on. Um, she's never. I mean, she likes to ride bikes, but I don't think she would show any interest in it. That'd be awesome, if she got in it, but I doubt
right,
it.
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There aren't very many female owners in the bike industry. There
Not
are,
anymore. I
there
think
are a
what we
few.
had, yeah, we had what the girl in the lady in used to own the Schwinn, the Diablo Cyclery in Walnut Creek, right?
Oh,
Remember? She used to own that back in the days.
I
is that?
don't.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
back when it was the Schwinn, back in the when I was in the bike shop, you had what was it, Priscilla? Was it Priscilla?
Oh man, I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't.
yeah. I think Priscilla used to own Diablo Cyclery in Walnut Creek back in the days.
Oh, no
Uh,
kidding.
yeah,
Wow.
so that
Okay.
was a long time ago,
Yeah.
obviously.
We have locally, we have I have a couple, Ron and Kelly Lopez. They're
Uh,
both equal partners in the bike shop Brentwood.
okay.
Yeah.
And she's like the front line and Ron does the mechanics.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's few and far between. I had Aaron and Wilson at Folsom Bike back in the day.
Yeah.
And I know Aaron helped you out, Chris. She was more back end though, No, I don't
Right.
think she dealt with the public necessarily, but
Mhm.
there are definitely a lot of women in the bike business, but not women owners
Right.
necessarily.
Right.
Wow. There's
But
one. I know one in Southern California. She's
mhm.
still she's still around, and then also there was the one in Berkeley, kind of right over by that Pete's Coffee by the Claremont.
Oh, that's
It
right.
wasn't
That's
very long, but
right.
um,
Yeah.
it was a woman bike shop.
Mm.
hmm Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that
Well,
many women out there still.
well, you've got something. You built a business that's you do very well in the bike business. So I'm sure that you don't have family to maybe pass it down to, but I'm sure you'll be able to sell when it's time to go. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I think I can find someone that can take over eventually and have the passion that I have in it and take it to the next step if that's what it needs to go.
part of the thing with these small businesses, and Chris, I was pretty critical about Trek's how Trek managed your store after you left, and that part of that was sour grapes, for sure. But there is something to that though, having an owner that is from the area that is super passionate about bikes.
Yeah.
And it's not like someone could just slide right into Danville Bike and replicate what you built,
Yeah.
So they're gonna have to make it their own thing.
Right. Yeah.
They
They'll
buy
have
it
to
from you.
have they're gonna have to, they'll make it the way they want it to be, they're gonna quirkiness or however you want to do it.
Right.
Have to basically do it the way they want,
Yeah.
whether you
Yeah.
like it or not.
Yep. Well, all right. So we still got some years ahead of us here before
Yes, we do.
you're stepping
Yeah.
off.
And
Yeah.
it doesn't mean you're getting more orders today, so don't think about it.
Trying to soften you up there.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, this is about time we wrap it up. I know you got to get your bike shop to open. We
Got to
got
open up the
jobs to
store.
do. I
Yep.
have a
Yep.
job to do. Chris is just going to go
I got
play in his yard or something. I
I
don't
got
know.
some. I
Chris
got to
gonna
walk
go.
the
Chris
dog.
gonna go throw
Yeah,
some more
yeah.
firewood in his fire pit there.
I got to
Yeah.
keep it going. I got to keep it going. Yeah, I'm getting
That's
three
right.
quarts today. So
There you go.
Oh,
yeah.
Jesus.
You getting any snow yet?
We didn't get snow here, but I drove up to Sugar Bowl, which is about 40 minutes away from here.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
There was about 5 or 6 good inches of snow, so it was good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's nice.
We'll see if
It's
it stays.
coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming. Yeah.
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 Man,
All right.
Jose, that was really cool. I was really interested to learn more about you, and
Yeah.
we've known each other for a while, but just to know kind of that history and School of Hard Knocks, and
Yeah.
you've done an amazing thing, man. So it
I
was really
appreciate
cool
it.
to hear
Thank
your
you.
story. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll have to we'll do this again and come up with some more stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Absolutely.
and I learned some stuff too. We've known each other a long time, but
Yeah.
definitely when we do business, we don't really talk about your childhood and your upbringing. It comes up from time to time, but it was really great to get that full picture of
Yeah.
yeah, how you ended up the where you're at. And
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
appreciate it.
I've been blessed for sure. There's no doubt about it. Been blessed with
absolutely.
a lot of good friends and a lot of people I met, and bike shop's been really good to us.
Yeah,
That's
no
great.
doubt. All right, now you're on Instagram, right? So what's that? What is the Instagram?
My Instagram is Danville Bike.
Okay.
And then you can tag me or go there. And then my AOL, my email is danvillebike@aol.com. I haven't changed that yet.
You just threw out the AOLs, like
I still have
man.
AOL, man. I get so much shit for that.
Hang on to that thing as long as you
Yeah.
can.
Why
Yeah.
not? Why not?
I bet you
But
that yeah, the young kid that works for you probably has no idea what an
oh,
AOL even
Colton.
is.
Oh,
Yeah.
Colton. He's funny. He's like, what is this stuff? Come on, guys. Yeah.
All right. Well, if you're in the Bay Area, you're looking for a bike and someone, good to deal with, it's going to take care of you, support you. Danville
Yep.
Bike's a great place to go. Go,
Yep.
Absolutely.
go see
Absolutely.
Jose. Been doing it for,
I'm here to take care of the Bay Area, and any way I can. We
yeah.
sell giant bicycles.
Yes. You got some other stuff in
I
there
won't
too.
say any more than that.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. You already said pivot. Okay. So,
Oh yeah, that's right. I did throw that one in.
yeah. Yeah. That's right.
You
Yeah.
said the P
All
word.
right.
Yeah.
All right,
All right.
Jose. Well, thanks a
Thank you,
bunch,
guys.
brother.
Nice talking to you, Chris. I'll see you
Yeah,
soon.
it's good to see you again, Jose.
Thank
Take
you
care,
too.
bud.
We'll keep in chat. All right, buddy. See you
Bye,
guys.
guys.
All right.
Bye.